Again, if you want to get involved in the show, 216-431-3820, or you can hit us on Skype like everyone else has this morning. Dogs on the Run. All right, we're going to talk now to Roger Chanoine, who used to play for the Browns, and he joins us there on Skype 1. Hey, Roger, your thoughts on the Browns last night, and first of all, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, and I appreciate being on the show again. And I mean, all I can say about last night is explosive. I mean, I was in the house. It was great to be there. Just the atmosphere was awesome. And to top it off, the halftime recognition of Jim Brown was just awesome.
You know, you've been in that stadium when it's been rocking. It's still, I mean, even to be there again in that atmosphere and a national television audience, does it send chills down your spine to see the Browns fans come out and knowing that they're playing for something? They were in first place and still are going into that game last night.
Yes, I mean, it was really awesome just, sitting in the stands, high-fiving each other and getting excited. When Travis Benjamin took off on that first return, the 57-yarder where he got pushed out at the last minute. I mean, you knew that something was going to happen tonight.
Hey, Roger, as a former offensive lineman in the NFL, kind of take me through the difference between Brian Hoyer for the offensive line and Brandon Weeden for the offensive line, and why things might look a little bit different if you're a fan watching this thing, because Brian Hoyer seems to be able to get things done efficiently, and Brandon Weeden, especially when he first came out, the pocket seems to collapse. But when Hoyer did it, it didn't seem like there was anything wrong. And then the other thing, Roger, as the game progressed, it seemed like he had more time. And we haven't talked about it yet, but Sean Laval was also back last night on that offensive line. So let's break down this offensive line.
Okay, well, I think the biggest difference between Hoyer and Weeden is really just the release. And I think you guys have spoken about that before. It's real important, especially the offensive linemen. I mean, we love when we have a quarterback back there that makes decisions quickly and is very efficient and gets rid of that ball as quickly as possible. I've had situations where I've had both. I've had, a quarterback that holds the ball a little bit longer than others, and then I've had a quarterback back there that gets rid of the ball relatively quickly. So I think that's the biggest challenge for the offensive line, especially when you have a mid-game change. I mean, really was first quarter. But when you have a change like that, all of a sudden, when you're used to someone else's rhythm, to try and adjust to a different player being back there, it can be a little challenging. It can take a couple of series. And I think that's what you saw happen as Weeden started to get a little bit more time. And also, I don't think, no knock against Weeden, but I don't think he's as mobile or at least mentally, I don't think he computes everything as quickly as Hoyer does, and it's probably just a lack of experience.
But it affects the way you keep your man up at the line of scrimmage too, Roger. And you know more than anybody else. You've got a guy who likes to step up in the pocket. There's a different technique you'd use in the guy in front of you. You got a guy in the where you're using the swivel in the back of your head, knowing that he likes to roll left or he likes to get outside the pressure and throw the football. So from your standpoint, there's two different ways that you've got to try to hold your man at the line of scrimmage, knowing that there's two different styles of guy behind you.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have somebody like Hoyer who does step up in the pocket and, will take that route up the middle if things start to break down, especially as a tackle, you're looking at more of a set where you're looking at bringing that defender around the horn versus someone that you need to really firm up and try and keep them up on the line as much as possible. 4 seconds is a long time, contrary to what most people believe, to try and hold another large human being at the line of scrimmage.
All right, let me ask one last question for you. There's a fumble in the game yesterday. Joe Thomas picks up the ball and starts running. As a former offensive lineman, how does that make you feel, and what are you thinking in that position when Joe's got the ball?
Oh, I was out in my seat rooting for him. There's nothing like seeing one of my buddies getting a chance to run the rock. I was hoping that he'd get, 10, 12 yards. I knew he wasn't going to make it to the end zone, nothing against Joe. But if he would have got 10 yards, trust me, he would have made gains for offensive linemen all over the world.
Yeah, you know what? But that you got to give him credit, too, because you watch the replay. He's got his man, and he's pushing his man to the outside. But the quarterback makes one step the wrong way, and the guy gets to the inside, knocks the ball loose, but Joe sees the whole thing, comes around, picks it up on the hop, and then he just keeps going like it never happened.
That fumble drill we used to do as kids must have came in handy at that precise moment.
All right. Hey, Roger, have a great day. Thank you so much. We wish you good health, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys have a great day, too.
You too.
Thanks, Roger.
All right, Roger Chanoine used to be an offensive lineman
Great
for
guy.
the Browns, especially right when they came back into the league back in the early 90s
Yep.
or early 2000s. So always a pleasure to get his perspective. And, you know, I always like talking to offensive linemen because they tell you things you don't hear from anybody else.
Can you imagine what that stadium would have done if Joe Thomas took
Oh,
that
my
thing to the house? Would have went nuts. I mean, that place would have, they might have ripped seats out and thrown them out there. It was we were talking about that in the press box
before. That was the old stadium.
Well, they might have been coming out last night if Joe Thomas went 55 yards, whatever it was.
Our next stop, and again, we invite you to join in the show, 216-431-3820 or on Skype, Dogs on the Run. Now we're going to be joined by Matt Loede from 92.3 The Fan, but he's also from SteelersGab.com. And, Matt, I want you to look up in the air. Look at the ceiling. Can you look at the ceiling for me? You know what that is? That's what Steeler fans are doing this morning, right? At 0-4, Steeler fans have to be looking up at the Browns at 3-2. It's been a long time since I've had to say that.
Yeah, it has, and this has been a nightmare of a start for the Steelers, and certainly I think the bye week, hopefully for them, will help them a little bit anyway, get back on track. I know that this week they made a move to get an offensive lineman in Levi Brown, a former top 10 NFL pick a couple of years ago from the Arizona Cardinals. So your boy Mike Adams has just been absolutely horrific on that offensive line.
He's my boy all of a sudden. Why? Because he went to Ohio State? That makes him my boy?
They're going to have to make some moves, some very drastic moves if they're going to want to compete at any level at this season right now, because this season is slowly but surely, well, not slowly anymore, but it's slipping away for this football team.
And that's okay. I mean, really, that's fine.
It's really not that big a deal.
I mean, if they want to, you know, if Steeler Nation wants to get all crazy, but I mean, that's fine. I mean, 0-10 is a real possibility, but we'll worry about that when we get to it in 6 weeks. What's coming up for these guys over the next couple of weeks? Because the schedule doesn't get any easier.
Well, you know, you got the New York Jets coming up next, a team that certainly, I think when you look at them on paper, guys, I think you know that they can get a win against a team like that. I think that's a team right there. In the Jets anyway, that I think the Steelers can compete against. Geno Smith, you know, Rex Ryan. The Steelers have had their number over the course of the last couple of years. The Ravens are another team coming up pretty soon for the Steelers as well. And, of course, we know Baltimore's had their own struggles. So, you know, the weird thing is, and I know that obviously this is, probably putting the cart before the horse, but it's not like the division is over. I mean, this kind of is reminiscent. I think you guys will remember, I think it was the 2003 season when it just seemed like all the teams in the division had their struggles. And not maybe necessarily their struggles, but they had their deficiencies. I think obviously we know Cincinnati does not look like the best team on paper, and they haven't looked like the greatest team on the field either. The Ravens last week, you know, Joe Flacco obviously threw 5 interceptions in that loss to the team that the Browns beat last night in Buffalo. And now, of course, the Browns, even though they're 3-2, we obviously know that they have some injury issues they have to deal with themselves. So I think if you're Mike Tomlin, I think if you're the Steelers, I think if you're the team, they probably feel, hey, look, if we could just get a little bit of momentum going, maybe we could find a way to get back in this thing. But right now, they have so many issues with running the football, like I said, with the offensive line. They got a lot of things to figure out before they get ready for the Jets a week from this Sunday.
But getting Le'Veon Bell back, I thought, makes a little bit of a difference, especially when some people thought he might be out for the entire season.
Yeah, no question about it. And as I said before, I mean, it's going to be a tough sell to try to get this team back on and back rolling, you know, because as I said before, Andy, this team has got deficiencies all over the place. And as I said, losing Marquise Pouncey in week 1 has just been such a death blow for this team because, you know, they feel like he is the best center in football. And when you lose the best player in any position, you're fighting an uphill battle. This team didn't have a ton of depth before that. Their depth has been tested a lot already here in 2013.
All right. Just one more time. I'm sorry. What was the Steelers' record again? I forgot.
Thank you very much. 0-4.
All right, Matt Loede, one of our Steeler experts here, and we appreciate it. Again, SteelersGab, right? .com?
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Matt Loede also works at 92.3 The Fan as well. Does an outstanding job there covering baseball. So
I love that line.
Unfortunately, he's got nothing left to do now that the Indians got knocked out of the playoffs, but I'm sure they'll find some work for him at some point. Again, 216-431-3820 or on Twitter at Andy_Baskin or Mike Cairns 5 is your Twitter account. Again, we like it when you Skype in, and we want to talk to you on Skype, and that would be Dogs on the Run. I think everyone's feeling pretty good this morning because the Browns picked up the win. They are in first place. Our questions, though, and we're going to get those answered a little bit later today when Brian Hoyer has his MRI. Look, I really like Brandon Weeden. Think he's a good guy. Glad he was out there last night. Did a really nice job of leading this team to victory. But I feel a lot more comfortable when Brian Hoyer is the quarterback.
I think a lot of people do. And this is the big key. And this is kind of the way things go when you're a Browns fan. Brian Hoyer gets the hot hand after Brandon Weeden goes out, gets hurt, so wins his first 2 starts. He gets hurt in his 3rd start. Brandon Weeden comes back in, leads the team to victory. So now you're like, well, what's going to happen? You've seen both quarterbacks. I agree with you. I think Brian Hoyer would be the guy going forward. And you shouldn't lose your job to an injury. Brandon Weeden did. But we'll see how serious Brian Hoyer's knee injury is later on today when he undergoes that MRI. Let's hope that there's no structural damage or no severe ligament tears or anything like that. And it's maybe a 2 or 3 week type of fix where they can get Brandon Weeden up to speed and keep going. But if he goes down, they're going to have to make some big moves.
All right, 7:40 in the morning here Eastern time. We know we have folks watching all over the world. So, a lot of folks stayed up real late last night watching the Browns game. So really, for a lot of people, this is your first chance to react. And we want to remind you there are absolutely no rules to this show. And if you want to call and you want to make fun of, let's see, you can make fun of this guy, can't you? You can make fun of Eric, the referee.
Always make fun of me.
I
might throw a
fun
flag
on the phone at this
I
point.
might throw a flag.
Wow. Is that Colleen behind you? Or is that a palm tree that we're seeing behind you?
Yeah, that's Colleen.
Colleen, how is Eric, the referee, doing? And can you grade him and assess him at this point?
Eric, he's doing a great job. We love having him. He's throwing those flags, getting everybody going. We're happy to have him here.
That's good.
Keeping
Hey, Colleen,
you guys under control.
What'd you think of the game last night, just out of curiosity?
Let's see. When I went to sleep, it was tied. I hate to admit that, but 4 a.m. comes awfully early around here.
All right, Colleen, thank you. We appreciate it. So feel free to make fun of Eric, the referee. Again, if he says anything dumb like he has the last couple of weeks, we will take his microphone away from you. So just so you know that.
You wouldn't want me taking over, though.
Oh, you never know.
I'm
Colleen,
not sure
we would
Be an
much-
upgrade.
Colleen, we would much rather look at you than
Yes.
Eric, the referee.
Huge
Let's be
upgrade.
let's be honest
Huge
about that.
upgrade.
All right, next up.